Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. So one of the things that happens when you make anything, in my case leatherwork, is you get family members requesting things, and in this case my brother sent me a message saying that he needed a new watch strap. So this is a watch that he bought himself as a present a few years ago, and the watch strap that came with it shrunk in the wash. Now I don't know how it shrunk in the wash because he didn't wash it, but hey ho, there we go. So today I'm going to be making a watch strap out of Hermes leather. You might know it as Nova Nappa or Barenia or a whole bunch of different names that Hermes uses, but that's what this is. It is absolutely beautiful. As you just saw, I'm using the bare scraps because it's all I've got left. There are some leathers that you'll have that you won't really mind about throwing away the last little bit, but this is one of those leathers that is absolutely butter smooth to work with. But that does mean you have to do a couple of extra bits to make it structurally sound when you're actually working with it. And in this case, you're going to see me backing it with something called Velodon. I think that's how you pronounce it, Velodona, possibly. It's a non-stretch, it feels a little bit like paper or cardboard. You'll see me doing it in a moment, and it is so strong. It's normally used in belts, but it is also used in the watch strap industry, and Hermes uses it themselves in their watch straps, so I thought I would make it with this. So I had to split it down. It came at 1.8 mil, which is just far too thick for a watch strap. I normally make my watch straps with the top and bottom at about a millimeter each. So, and as you just saw, I split it down with my bell knife skiver to 0.6, and the Velodon, the black fabric on the left, I say fabric, but you know what I mean, it's like a condensed material. I don't really know what it's made of. That is 0.5 or 0.3 millimeters. You can get it in both. This one's a 0.3, and the outside being the actual leather being 0.6. It came out beautifully at 1 millimeter. However, one of the things you do have to be careful of with this type of leather, one thing, it has zero finish. So like a semi-aniline has a little bit of, it has pigmentation to it, which this has, but it also has a little bit of a finish on it. Now this leather in particular has no finish at all, 0.9 mil, so close enough. So this leather has zero finish on it, which means that it picks up everything, but it also ages so stunningly. So at the moment I'm marking out my watch strap measurements, and I mark out 5 mil, 10 mil and 15 mil from the end. The 5 mil is where I shave it down, well, I skive it down 5 mil from the end, as you're seeing now. You can see just how butter smooth it is, it's crazy. So the 5 mil is the overlap, because it allows one stitch to go over and then one stitch behind, so it secures it nicely in place. Then the next two marks, the middle one is where the spring bar will sit, and the marks either side of the middle one is where it will fold over, which we'll see in a moment. I'm going to be using some Buttero leather. It's a Italian shoulder. It's really nice to work with if you're just beginning, because it's quite resilient, and so if you're just starting out, do go and get yourself some Buttero, because it is lovely to work with. But what I'm using it for is actually the padding. So I don't like putting foam in my pieces, well, in my watch straps. I like putting it in some things, but I don't like putting foam in my watch straps. So I actually use the Buttero. You could use any calf, but I just have this on hand, and I'm going to be using it to give that padded effect to the actual watch strap itself. So it will come out and it will look like it's got padding in it. But the other good thing about using leather instead of something like foam is it won't compress over, well, it will compress a little bit, but it won't compress as much as an artificial fabric substance will over time. it'll keep that really nice raised look in the middle, which looks so classy. I just love raised anything. Card holders, belts, watch straps. Put some raising strips in there and you've got me hooked. I love it. So I've actually switched to a different type of glue this time. It's still a water-based adhesive. I get it from Pro Italia Plus. It's called EcoSar 16PIU. And I'm not using the polyurethane one this time because it doesn't stick to the Velodon as much, I find anyway. So you just saw me flip over the watch strap. So some people attach the lining after they flip that little tab over. I personally like to attach the tab and then flip it over, just because I find it just a little bit easier to actually line everything up nicely. And you can see how that padding strip is coming out, and it's one of the reasons that you get that leather quite thin, so a millimeter thick, because you want to see the padded effect. You can, if you make your top piece a little bit thicker, you won't get quite as much definition, and if you make it thinner, it's going to be a little bit too thin for this kind of thing. It's so important when doing leather to keep a sharp blade. As you just saw, I changed my scalpel blade, because if you have a dull blade, you will cut yourself, I promise. But one of the great things about Velodon, the black fabric, the black material in the middle, is it means that you get such a beautiful back stitch, well, back of the stitch. A back stitch is something a little bit different, because if you're stitching something soft, the threads in the actual hole won't have enough, there's not enough structure in the leather to give you an angle. But if you're using something like Velodon in the middle, it gives it that rigidity for the angle to become really nice, which you're going to see in a minute. It's just one of many things. This is not an advertisement for Velodon. I just want to give you guys the most information possible so that I break down the barriers of leatherwork. There's so many paid barriers, people wanting to be secretive about their materials and their leather choices and their patterns I can understand, but everything else I want to break that down. It's one of the reasons I started my channel, because it's such a difficult industry to get any information about. People are just so secretive, it's infuriating. But this leather just creases so beautiful. If you're using this leather yourself, do not use a hot creaser. This is set at like a 3 or something ridiculous. It burns because there's no covering. It burns so easily. I do have to thank Pro Italia Plus for that tree. They sent it over to me, so thank you so much for that. And I'm using a different thread this time. It's not actually Misi Superfine. It's a Xiang, I think is how you pronounce it. It looks like linen, which is what I use every day, but it's actually polyester. So you get a much more longevity out of it, and you can singe the end, which mushrooms it, but it still looks like linen. I don't know what black magic this is. It's witchcraft, but they've done it, and it looks really, really good. I don't have any long-term data or long-term tests with it. This is one of the first things I've made with it. There's the backside. It's just gorgeous. And this thread, I think I'm gonna have to get a little bit more of it. I do really like it. Let me know in the comment section down below. Do you guys want to see a thread comparison between this one and linen? I'll make the video, but I need you guys to let me know if you want to see it. And you're going to see the singeing in the back, and it does help with the whole finishing thing really, really well. I am quite taken with it. And there we go, a bit of fire. Can't go wrong with a bit of fire. One thing that you need to be careful with when you're doing leather work with anything even remotely soft or vegetable tanned, which this is you will dent it irreparably if you're not careful. So do go easy. Now, you will notice that I'm not punching any holes in this watch strap, which is kind of strange considering that you need holes in a watch strap to actually use the watch strap. But because this is for my brother and we're not quite sure what size watch strap he needs, because the one he's got stretched and shrunk, stretched one way, shrunk the other way, he's actually going to punch the holes himself. So I'm sending it to him without any holes. He's going to put his buckle in it and punch the holes himself. So that's the reason behind that. I'm quite proud of this video. I'm getting better at the whole editing thing. I edit all of my videos myself. Doing 2 videos a week is I love it, but it's a challenge. So let me know if you're enjoying them in the comment section, and like, subscribe, do all the things. But it is a lot of work editing it, but I'm really proud of the way I edited this one. I have to admit, I like the cuts I've done. If you're using a scalpel blade yourself, so if you're using a super sharp knife, please be careful. You can cut yourself. If you can cut leather, you can cut you, and as a result of that, you will be bleeding. So please do be careful. I assume that all of you guys know how to use knives, but just be careful, please. So I always, for the keeper, which is the strip that holds the tail of the watch strap, I always back it with microfiber. And the reason behind that is when you put the keeper through, when you put the tail through the keeper, if it's microfiber, it won't scratch it or anything. But if it's the back of the leather, which is fibrous, and it's not overly soft, the back of leather, you can actually scratch it. So I always back my keepers with microfiber in order to increase the longevity of my watch straps. And if you're wondering, the keepers I make are 6mm wide. And if I'm going to crease them, which I don't do in this one, but if I'm going to crease them, I do them at a little bit wider, either 7 or 8, so quite wide, because my crease is actually, do I do it at that width? I might do it at 6 or 7, but anyway, it's a little bit wider, because my crease is always set. I use a 1.5mm crease, so you want a little bit of leather between the two sides. And there's the microfiber on the back. Between the leather and the microfiber is a 2mm wide strip of non-stretch tape, so that keeper will never stretch. It doesn't need to be wide. It just needs to be there, so that the keeper never stretches ever. In a lot of videos, you will see people stitching up to the keeper and then around it. I don't like to do that. I like to stitch mine in. I think it just looks nicer personally, but your results may vary. And we're basically done. We just got to paint the edges. So thank you guys so much for watching. I super appreciate it. I'm doing a massive giveaway at 10k, so don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Do all the YouTubey things. Little tip for you: if you're painting edges and you are painting both sides at the same time, like a watch strap or card holder or something, use a thread spool to hold it in place. You don't have to pay for fancy equipment. Don't forget to leave a comment, let me know what you'd like to see me make, and I will see you next time. Have a fantastic weekend.